Would you like to explain it, what we can see there?
Okay.
So 2 or 3 years ago was a jubilee from the Swiss archivists,
Yes.
from the from the association, and the archives were invited to show one document which represents the archive.
Okay. Okay.
And we choose this one.
Okay.
This map.
Okay.
The map is from 1903.
Okay.
It's a typical map for a mission society. You see here the mission house in Basel in the middle.
Okay.
And you see here people come to us and help us.
Yeah. Okay.
And you see here some scenes from the different mission fields at this time.
Okay.
China, India, Gold Coast, and Cameroon.
Okay.
And here is something about poison who was distributed.
Okay.
And you see also missionary. We have no idea where these scenes are from.
Yeah.
So the idea to
Okay.
this is a digitalisierte archives.
So they all depict scenes of superstition, right?
Yeah, okay.
Aberglaube.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, you see here the dances concerning bodies in Cameroon.
Yeah.
So we have here. So it shows.
So what it shows you is like all the red and black places.
This
is where people believe in more than one god, and they can still be converted.
Yeah, you see here the distribution of the religion at this time. Okay. So you see here the Christian regions.
Okay.
You see here the Islam here, the Muslims, and was black the heathen. Yes.
Okay.
And like the states and colonial states, they distributed the world, also the mission society distributed in the world. So the evangelists, so evangelical mission societies, because the Catholic ones these were conquered.
Okay.
And also they distributed the world. So that the Basel Mission was in Ghana, and a Netherlands, a Dutch mission society was in another place. So you can see that.
It followed almost like the Berlin conference thing in 1884. So it actually followed that.
The scramble for Africa.
Because from 1885, Cameroon then was German, and before it was amended from Great Britain, and British, English mission societies were there in Cameroon. And then when Cameroon was German, the English mission societies left Cameroon, and the Basel Mission and the North German missions, they then went to Cameroon. So you see here also, of course, you know that the connections to the colonialism with the mission societies.
Makes sense.
Are there photos in this box?
Here's some photos. You have them also on our website, archives. It's a little series about cacao. You see here image 10. The drying of the cacao beans after the fermentation, and it begins with picture 1. And these images are special because the photographer was Justice Holm, so a photographer from Ghana.
Ghana, okay.
Lovely. Yes, and on the archives you can give in cacao, and then you send them all the images concerning cacao, and also from not only from Holmes, also from other photographers.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
It was also part of the exhibition about from the National Museum, this image, which is from Accra, about 1911.
So this is when they then got, is it 20,000 metric tons or whatever? Or
it was from the harbour from Christiansborg. And you see here the little boy with the shirt with the Swiss cross. So that was the sign that he worked for the mission.
Okay.
Trading.
Okay.
Very culturally.
Okay.
And you see
The
Is there any written documentation about Tete Kwarshi and his relation to the Basel Mission?
We have nothing. We have nothing here.
Okay. No. So the missionaries never, because I talked to Andrea Frank, who wrote this book. That's the thesis that he talked about before.
Okay.
And she once mentioned to me that she came across a letter by a missionary who described Tete Kwarshi as a Verdingkind. Because his origin is not really clear. Maybe he ran away from home, maybe he was an orphan, maybe he got kicked out of his house. Somehow he was a bit lost and he found refuge at the Basel Mission, and they took him in and educated him to become a blacksmith, and then eventually sent him to go to Bioko to get the beans. And this in Ghana is the origin story of cocoa.
And that was, I can tell you how that was created. I can tell you how that myth from the Ghana side was created. There was, again, politically, after independence, again, scramble for resources, and so there was the decision was to position the Tete Kwarshi Memorial Hospital, or a memorial hospital for cocoa farmers at Ekropong. That was the original intention, because Ekropong was everybody knew that Ekropong was the heartbeat of cocoa. But at the time, the Ekropong elite were against Nkrumah. So the people from Mampong got smart and created this Tete Kwarshi myth to be able to get their hospital. That's where it comes from.
So you don't think Tete Kwarshi even went to Bioko?
No. I mean, even if he went to Bioko, it had nothing to do with necessarily him going for cocoa. No, it's all a myth.
It's like our Wilhelm Tell. We have a guy like this too in our national myth.
When we have guided tours here, also when they talk about Tete Kwarshi, and some years ago that there was a little discussion where he got the plants from, and there was, I think, I was a professor in Ghana, and she said that Tete Kwarshi had stolen the plants.
That must have been Professor.
I said that
Professor Akosia Pebi.
It's possible. But I sent them when I have people from Switzerland here, when they laugh about that, I said, it's the same by Wilhelm Tell. So Wilhelm Tell was a murderer. So because he murdered Gessler, so he was not.
He shot the Austrian king. He murdered the Austrian king. He was a terrorist.
He was a terrorist. Yes.
A freedom fighter.
So that's
similar. And here you have also Tete Kwarshi.
Okay.
This place with the African achievements on this page.
Okay, so you can actually take.
So Tete Kwarshi here is mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, here Tete Kwarshi, the goldsmith, and so on.
Aha, so this must have been.
He was given in custody by his master, Akrong Nkrumah, to Heinrich Bonner, the missionary in charge of the shoe workshop. Bonner not only trained the child in his profession, but sent him to the Basel Mission school.
This is where Andreas...
But she mentioned a letter where a missionary described Tete Kwarshi as a Verdingkind, which was a Swiss concept of kids from
abandoned, foster...
or parents who got divorced, or alcoholic parents, so they would take away the kids and give it to a farm to work almost like a slave. However, Tete Kwarshi was sold by his African master to a farmer in the Fante region. From there he managed to escape and fled to Bonner's protection. When his owner tried to sue the missionary before the court, the Basel Mission bought, at Bonner's request, Tete Kwarshi's freedom. Thereafter, the freed boy continued his training in school and workshop until he became qualified, not only as a shoemaker but also as a goldsmith, the profession he later practiced. Tete Kwarshi had signed a service contract in Fernando Po, so there must be a written documentation, which terminated in 1869. Then he returned to Ghana, taking against the strict regulations forbidding exportation some cocoa pods. Apparently the suggestion came from one of the Basel missionaries, probably Bonner, who was later to send pods from the Cameroons to his Akin friends. Tete Kwarshi planted the dried beans on his farm in Mampong, and in a few years cocoa trees grew from these seedlings. So he did go to... If they have a written contract...
No, there's no doubt he did go, but it's just the myth.
It wasn't his own... No, he didn't initiate it.
Can you take a picture? The myth that's created is our own myth.
Yeah.
And I explained to you why. Because at the time...
They needed a hospital.
Yes, they needed a hospital. And the hospital, the initial choice of the hospital was a Kopong, logically, because of the history, etc. But because the Kopong elite were against Nkrumah, they were not pro Nkrumah. So they managed to manipulate for the thing to be.
That's interesting.
For the thing to be.
It's still recording.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to take a actual picture.
So let's stop the...